Big pull.
There you go. There you go.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Flip
There
it.
you go. There 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 you go.
Get it set. Come on.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Drive.
Come on. Oh yeah. Look.
Yeah.
Lock it up. Yeah. 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 Woo. Yeah.
Hey everyone, just wanted to talk about split jerk and strongman. I'm Andrew Clayton. I hold the NAS, actually men's record and teen record in the axle clean and press, so I guess that's what qualifies me to educate you on this. I don't claim to be an expert on this. I'm not an Ollie lifter. I kind of taught myself. I've gotten some help from mainly one coach, Jesse Reynolds in Florida, so I credit him to anything. He's taught me a bunch of stuff. Done a lot of reading. That's a really important thing. So you just got to kind of read and understand. Obviously I've adapted the split jerk strongman, so I want to kind of highlight more on that. So to start off, Ollie shoes. I'm wearing Ollie shoes right now, and as Marshall White says, if you can't outlift them, then you probably shouldn't talk about the shoes. In my opinion, I feel like you should be able to split jerk or do any type of pressing, either barefoot, almost any type of shoe. There are shoes that are going to hinder you from being successful, but I don't think you should lose the skill completely just because you don't have your Ollie shoes on. As far as hand placement, we're going to get to that on the bar in a second, but the hand placement is kind of debated. Some people say on the fingertips, and in strongman I don't think that's really going to be good for axle, obviously. On the barbell itself, maybe, but from what I've been coached and what I've seen, you want to get a little more grip on it. So that's one thing that a lot of guys, I guess, do wrong. There's some types of split jerkers that do it from the hands, but you notice maybe their upper body isn't as strong, have more leg drive. It's really on how they're built. But in general, I like to squeeze the bar. So that's what I put there. On the grip, as far as false grip, I don't think you should ever use false grip on pressing with a barbell. Maybe if you're not using leg drive, but in general, if you're using leg drive, I feel like you need that control of the thumb around. Having a thumb around axle, though, I find hurts my lockout of the jerk. So axle, I'm going to show you guys both of them, but I'm going to false grip it. Log, I mean, come on, hold on to that. I don't see any benefit in having false grip on the log. It's already a pretty healthy way to press. It's off the chest, and it's in pretty good grip for most people. As far as belt, obviously in a contest, use a belt, unless it's going to, I guess, hurt. You know, if it's high reps and you can't breathe and you already got a big enough gut, yeah, maybe not use a belt. But as far as learning how to split jerk, a lot of it's going to come down to abs and really having a flat back. And most guys are taught with the belt to actually arch, so I feel like having that kind of reminds them to arch, which is not a good thing, and you become reliant on it. And I've seen a lot of guys who have a huge, they get a huge amount from the belt, which is, I guess, a good thing, but it's also a bad thing when it comes to like high reps and they're not wearing it. So I'm going to start off. I'm going to move to the barbell. The main exercise to teach, obviously just doing presses with the bar, but once you need leg drive, it's going to start with push press. Activating the abs is very important. So a lot of us have interior tilt. It's actually normal. It's about 5 to 15%, I believe. And so what you need to do is you need to pull the abs in, and that's going to pull the butt down. And so you pretty much are going to sit here. The abs are tight. This will put you on your heels, and that's how you're going to start a press. Obviously on the heels is the next cue. You want to drive through the heels. Athletics, they want to say it's from the toes, everything's on your feet, on your toes. If you're an athlete who's using any of this stuff, it'd be better in sports. Leave that on the field. You need to press to the heels. That's how you're going to get your leg drive. Eyes. A lot of coaches want to say eyes up. Don't ever have your eyes down. I don't think it ever benefits. As far as eyes, you want to have your head straight forward. Eyes might look up slightly, but you don't want your head to look up slightly. Again, it's not athletics. You don't need your head up. I don't think we're going to be hitting anyone. On the delts, the bar is going to rest on the delts and not the hands. A lot of guys who are younger who don't have a big chest and delts, and I guess back as well, will try to rest it on their hands, lower on their chest, and you're not going to get leg drive there unless you keep the bar motionless, which is impossible at high weights. So you should almost be able to take your hands out of the equation and be able to just rest it in the rack position, and obviously not try to press, but that's really important. And on the dip, I'm going to teach it on the bar again. You don't want to go too deep into it because then it becomes a squat, and as we know, partial squats, we're going to be able to lift more than going through the whole range. So the same thing's true for the dip. As far as percentages, if you guys want to hear that, I believe some things show that like 8 to 10% is good. In general, what you want, have the camera go down here, is you basically want your knees not to go past your toes, because then you come up onto your toes. So yeah, so let's move to the barbell real quick. So I'm going to try to review everything I had on the board. So hand placement. For me, I find just a moderate grip. It can change every day. It changes by the implement sometimes. There's people have talked about having a wide grip on the jerk. I don't think that's really beneficial. It hasn't really shown to be helpful, even though you don't have to press it as far. In general, just get a pretty normal grip. Sometimes people like it in. You shouldn't have your hands actually on your shoulders, which I can't do without weight. You want them just outside. So I'm going to grab the barbell, and then I'm going to set up. So it's on my delts. Now, how I get set up, obviously I'm on my heels, if you look down. Now, some people like their feet kind of pointed forward, and for me, I found that doesn't work. I kind of have tight external rotators, so I kind of point them out a little bit, which a lot of big guys do. Now, when I get set to do a jerk, or any type of press, I'm just going to do push press first, I try to do everything at once. So, when I take a breath, I'm going to squeeze, sit back with my abs tight, I'm on my heels, and that's how I ready myself. I do everything at once. So I might be here, drop the elbows, squeeze the bar, tight abs on the heels, and then I dip and drive. That was kind of crappy. Need a little weight maybe, but dip and drive. Now there's going to be hips on the push press. I've already trained 3 hours today, so kind of tight. There is going to be some drive from the hips in the push press. But in general, what you want to have guys teach is a really fast, explosive dip, not too deep, on the heels. As far as coaching, don't let your athlete go up in weight on the push press until they have mastered the skill. That's a great motivational thing, because if your form sucks, you're not going any heavier. So no one wants to press like 135 all day. So don't let them go up just because they're motivated. So I'm just going to throw these weights on the bar real quick. And I'm actually going to progress from push press into split jerk. John, if you can get a better angle so they can see my face as I'm talking to them. So this is really lightweight. So I'm going to grip the bar, pull under it on my chest and deli, get the beard out of the way. So I'm going to get set up on my heels. I'm going to do a push press. So, okay, again. And obviously this is really light, but here we're going to go to split jerk. So again, resting. Now, on the split jerk, I probably forgot to mention it off the board, but the split jerk, from what I've learned, there's a lot of ways to correct for it. One, when you're warming up, you want to make sure that the split is only as big as you need. So basically you're trying to get as much leg drive as possible. Now obviously you don't want each of them to end like this, because then you're wasting time that you could put your foot out. So you want to not go to full knee extension, but really close, and you're basically going to use your hamstrings to kick the leg out. But the thing is, like, don't think about either of those individually. So it's really a learned skill. If you think only about leg drive, then your split's going to be terrible. And if you think only about getting under it, which is a huge error, and a lot of young guys, they think, oh, I just need to get under it, then you're not going to be good there. As far as the correction, when your arms are above your head, you should correct halfway with the front foot and halfway with the back. Now for me, I had the left forward. Seems like the majority of people have the right forward, which is their dominant leg. For some reason, even though I'm right-handed, I use my left, and I'm not going to switch it. So I'm going to do a couple more jerks, see how that goes. Okay. So tight. Now learning to breathe on the rack position is really important. I'm a little out of breath. I'm talking, but you really need to be able to know how to breathe here after a clean. So I'm going to work my way back over to the board, Jonathan. So I'm pretty tired already, but so the cues, a lot of things on the cues. don't say too much. They're not going to remember everything. So when I'm set up, legs is a really good thing I've learned from the coach. And just personally, the athletes that I do get to train. Because again, they want to jump under it. Jump under has got to be the worst thing anybody can say, because if you're not pushing the bar up at least a little bit, which in the Olympics is, I believe it's about halfway up, roughly, then how are you going to get under it? Alright, so programming for any type of split jerk is going to be hard in strongman because of all the things we have to be able to do. Obviously there's new ways, people have rotated stuff. Rotation I think is really good, but the thing is you're never going to be like an ollie lifter where you're mastering the form, because they can do it, multiple times a day, all week, because those are the skills they need. We need such broad range of skills and such heavy, hard moves like yoke walk and farmers that if you did do a jerk every day, you would hurt your strength in the long run for sure. So I like variation, so that's a really good thing, but that's once you've mastered the basic skill. As far as what to do when you first start, I think you need to take the hit to your strength, in the squat and dead, whatever it's going to affect. You need to take that hit and really learn the form. I was lucky enough I got into strongman really young. I've been competing for 3 years, well over 3 years, and I just turned 20 years old actually last month. So it's really been beneficial because I started off early. I did push press right when I started lifting practically. Had no upper body strength, had decent leg strength maybe, and I was taught jump and lock out. And I pretty much got really, really good at push press, and I sucked at bench. Basically, I sucked at everything, but I was really good at using my whole body as one unit, and that's something people need to learn early. So the earlier the better. Once you get too strong, you're actually not going to be able to learn any type of split jerk. Push press, yeah, you probably will. Problem is, relatively speaking, a press will be too close to how much you can maybe press without legs, and your body, or neuromuscularly, is gonna recruit the upper body. But when you teach it earlier on, it's going to recruit it in the proper motor patterns. I'm not an expert on any of that either, but from what I've read and obviously what I've personally seen, you have to really teach the body to work as a unit and really be successful. Now, empty barbell work, I definitely would say you could do every day. I'm not really necessarily a fan of active recovery, but I'm definitely a fan of keeping skills. When I go into a competition, I'll do form work about a week out, and then maybe the next week I just have an empty bar in my rack at my house, and I'll get home and I'll just do a couple split jerks off of it or something. It's pretty much every day. And I really, because most of the other events we don't really need as much skill, so to speak. I hate to say it, but you're not going to forget to walk on a yoke. Now, as far as exercises to do, I guess I'll talk about that now, and then I'll move on to axle and log. The exercise, I already talked about push press. The pros of push press, which I personally kind of believe in and what I've been taught, is obviously it'll help leg drive, because teaching you to drive all the way up. It does reach the extension of the knee, and ankle, which is not really what's going to happen on a normal split jerk. Let's see if we can get that. And it is going to help the lockout, which could help other strength. Okay, so the cons of push press, you don't have to move your feet, which is beneficial for like a rep, any type of rep contest in strongman, but if you're trying to be faster with your feet, it's not going to help you there. And you also start to lean back and push press. It's a bad habit of mine, especially when I use a belt, because I think I'm safe leaning back, and that's not going to help in split jerk because it's going to push you away, and then you're going to blocking out, and the bar's in front of you, and unless you run underneath it, as I would say, it's going to be a miss. A push jerk, I personally don't use push jerk a lot. I think push jerk is just a crappier version of the power jerk. I guess I'll have to demonstrate that. But basically, a push jerk is not moving your feet, driving and dipping again. And I see a lot of strongmen using that, and by using that I mean that's what they are pressing with. They don't know what the heck they're doing, because they're basically trying to get legs. That's unsuccessful. They try to start strong enough to lock out like a push press, so they kind of just dip under a little bit. So yeah, not a big fan. It might improve your dip, maybe. As far as triceps, I personally think because maybe the triceps are too weak, but I guess maybe they overload the triceps. Alright, so the cons of push jerk, it's an added skill you may or may not need. It might be good for certain types of lifts. And as far as press outs, I mean, it's a crappy version of the power jerk. The power jerk, I sometimes do, It helps leg drive, obviously. It's going to help the dip gain under it, and you do have to move your feet out slightly. Basically, the power jerk is just the same thing as a push jerk, except you move your feet out. And the goal is to land, again, with the elbows locked out at the same time the feet hit the ground, which is not true for the push jerk because your feet never hit the ground again. Split jerk. Oh, I'm sorry. On power jerk, people have a tendency to go too wide. It's one of my problems. And they have an impulse to split jerk, especially me, since I don't do the power jerk a lot. A really good athlete would be able to not do that, but it just ends up being a really bad type of press for me. Split jerk, obviously you're going to get really good at the split jerk if you split jerk. But what I got to say, if you're going to win by the jerk, you're going to die by the jerk. So you do need to have some skills for block press and circus dumbbell. But I will say this, I've split jerk every implement in Strongman except the one they don't allow. That's the Viking press, and I have yet to see it in a competition. So, I mean, I haven't really died by the jerk. And overtrain, because you are going to use more weight on it, and it also uses more muscles. So maybe if you don't want to overtrain your legs, then don't do a leg-driven press on a week of a squat. So I'm going to move quickly to the axle. So the main thing on the axle, hand placement I talked about, you can have the thumb around. The key is to squeeze really hard, because it will hurt the wrist. There's some belief that the wrist, yeah, they're kind of weak, but in my opinion, if your wrist hurts, squeeze the bar harder. Now, having a false grip, I'm still putting a ton of pressure with my wrist. So I'm going to set up on my chest. Now, again, I have my elbows kind of dropped down, my wrists are squeezed. I'm going to be tight, a little more, tight, and then on the heels. Okay. Now, just to show you guys the power jerk and the push jerk, this would be a push jerk. And actually, though, moving my feet. So this is a push jerk, and this would be a power jerk. And I'm sure my upper body was a little behind my legs, but hey, I'm not the best jerker. So, oh yeah, and on axle, rack position might be a little more difficult. I find it easier because it's a little thicker. Again, control, squeeze the bar. Log is a little different, and probably the hardest to do a split jerk or any type of jerk on just because it's so awkward. A lot of guys like to push press this. The problem is that your head has to be up to be in line, and therefore your upper back is going to be rounded. So as opposed to on the other ones where you could be up and down, you are going to have to kind of lean back. I belt most of the time on log because of that, just because it kind of helps with core stability. By belt, I mean I usually use a soft belt, and then competition use a hard belt. Hand placement, and obviously you're going to grab in the middle of the handle, squeeze it the same way. I'm going to ignore the clean today, but when you get up there, there are two ways. I'm kind of still experimenting. I would say either straight up and down, which takes a lot of back strength to make sure the handle doesn't tilt in your dip, or slightly back. It seems most of the presses have a slightly back angle. The ones that have it straight and down usually strict press or push press. Even Big Z has a slight angle backwards, or it's straight off and then it sometimes gets in front of them. So yeah, so clean. I'm gonna clean it real quick, and then I'll do all the presses back to back. Angle the handles down is a general thing. Lap. Push press. Push jerk. Power jerk. And split jerk. Now, split jerk, I find, goes forward more often because the log is already set forward. So you really have to take an attempt to try to push it back. Also, because the arms are externally rotated, for some reason the elbows at the top when you're reaching have a tendency to kind of unlock as opposed to when they're not rotated. So you really have to have some press out strength on the log. I rarely hit a PR on the log where I didn't have to relock out the elbows, so to speak. Also, getting really under the log is difficult because one, it's scary because the log is thicker, and letting go of the log in some crazy position could hurt your wrist, your elbow, pretty much anything. Normal barbell, it's not going to do that, especially with bumpers. I encourage always use bumpers because it allows you to really commit. These are lifts you have to commit to because you're getting under them. So I'll show a couple more on the log. It's a little more complex. I'm going to do them all split jerks since that's the purpose. There's a tendency to look up. Try to look straight forward. Recover, half, half. Reaching for the sky the whole time. Okay? So I'm gonna finish up with some miscellaneous stuff that I wrote down. I didn't write on the board. For one, it shouldn't say assistance. It should actually say types of jerks. As far as assistance exercises go, pause jerks. Pause jerks are where you're in the jerk position and you're going to pause at the bottom, staying tight, upright, and then go into a jerk from there. These are really good for teaching tightness and teaching someone to stop at the bottom and not go too deep. However, they're not good in the fact of actually generating power with that pause, because you want to use the muscles' ability to stretch to actually activate contraction. Again, that's like undergrad biomechanics, my only education on that. But it doesn't help, but it is a teaching tool. So don't overuse these things. Also, behind the neck seems to be really popular. Guys like to do the overload. I personally have never done it heavy. I might experiment with it, but anything behind the neck is kind of debated because of the shoulders. Off jerk tables, love them. This box here used to be a jerk table, and I used to have another one. It broke because it's all made from recycled wood, as most stuff in here is. I love the jerk tables because you can drop between reps. It saves the shoulders. In warming up, I like to take my last warm-up, actually drop on the floor, take all the weights off, put it back on the rack. That sucks. So if you have jerk tables, use them, but also develop the ability to lower the weight. In Strongman, we really need that for reps and also just overall strength. If you can only put it up, then you're probably not going to be as strong as if you can control it down a little bit. Some other things to look at. The angle for any type of reviewing film, as I was told by my coach, is 45 degrees from the front. That seems to be really good because it allows you to see the side and the front and kind of coach everything. If you're just from the side, you can't see the hand position because of the weights. If you're just from the front, you can't see the angles from the sides of like the hips and the legs and how they push out forward. And again, I'm not going in depth to every angle of the knee and ankle and everything, but it's really important as you advance. Warm-up. Warm-up is a huge, I see a lot of problems there. Guys will try to do a push press or a strict press and then add legs in as they go. I would say, I guess I'll make this own rule I guess I could call it the 135 rule. At 135, I start the split jerk. I sometimes start the split jerk at lower weights because I can do it. I'm flexible and the bar's on my chest. But I think most guys can get the bar on their chest at 135. If they can't, they probably don't have it on their chest or on any weight. You need to do it often in warm-ups to build the skill and activate the proper the neuromuscular components to be able to do it. If you don't start warming it up and you go up and say 300 on push press, try a split jerk, I don't know, 340, 350, probably not going to go so well. Though you will have your legs activated because in a push press you're activated. And you're going to want to keep the reps between sets adequate because you want to make sure you come into each set almost fully recovered, if not fully recovered. You're not going to be grinding a lot of weights out because it is power movement. You'll activate the central nervous system, possibly from missed attempts, which could help you. But in general, you want to make every attempt, especially at the beginning. And you want to keep the reps low to add volume, do multiple sets. And for me personally, I'm warming up with usually sets of 2 or 3 so I can correct it instantly after the first rep. But if you're maxing, yes, you're going to have to go down to 1, so you might do multiple ones. I like to keep jumps around 20 kilos right now based on my strength. But in general, 10 kilo jumps or even 5 kilo jumps would be great for a novice athlete. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this presentation. It was definitely longer than I thought, so here's everything on the board.